So we said who invented the sandwich? The Torah did, right? Didn't we say that? Where Hillel interprets page 195, Pasuk Chet, not the Earl of Sandwich. It was Hillel, according to a verse on his place. Pasuk, V'ochlu et habasar, b'layla hazeh, page 195, Chet. They shall eat the meat on this night, sliesh, roasted with fire, u'matzas amorim yochlu, together with matzah mor. So according to Hillel, you only yaitz if you eat the Pesach matzah mor as a sandwich, okay? That's Hillel's opinion. The Chachamim say you can eat it separately. We do it both ways, to be yaitz all shitas, right? The Yehuda, we do it both ways. But you see that according to Hillel, the Torah invented the concept of alafa, right? Because the matzah was pliable, otherwise you couldn't make a sandwich like the Yemenite matzahs are. Right, it's delicious. They put it in the oven before the Seder, the Yemenite. The other Sfarad, not just Yemenites. You've had it. It's delicious, and it's hot, like a pita. It's incredible. I brought it one year to a hotel, and one of the guys almost choked. He said, the rabbi is eating a pita on Pesach. He almost had a heart attack. Right. So I had to explain to him, he almost fainted, really. So I had to show him the box that it's Rav Avadia Yosef's hechsher. It looks just like a lafa.
Where did you buy it?
I bought it in my shul, the Persian shul in Pisgat Zev. That's in the Persian shul. But all the Sfardim have it. So that's why the Jews love shawarma. Bring back the good old days, right? The Jews love shawarma. And what was the lamb? The Pesach was a shawarma. The original shawarma, right? The lamb roasted with fire, wrapped as a wrap. Together with what? With moror, delicious moror, right? The romaine lettuce with the horseradish.
But do we eat the lamb together with the horseradish? Because I thought we...
Well, I told you, my friend, according to Hillel's opinion, you have to eat them together as a sandwich. That was Hillel's opinion, my friend, right?
Even at that time...
That's why he learns the pasuk. The Chachamim said, lav dafke. You don't have to eat a sandwich as long as you eat it at the Seder. It doesn't have to be together. But Hillel held that to be together.
But even Hillel, there was no Korban Pesach at the time.
No, Hillel lived in days of the temple. So there was a Korban Pesach. So today we ain't got the Korban Pesach. So what do? We eat the matzah morer as a sandwich, don't we?
Right.
Kain osa Hillel. We want to cover our bases, right?
First we eat.
Right? We want to cover our bases. And the Torah says in Pasuk Tet, Al tochem menu no.
So the third base should be that we should have put some beef, some lamb.
No, we don't do it today. We don't have roast meat at the Seder.
Right.
The Mishnah says because people might accuse us of being Karaites.
Right.
Because we ain't got a temple today, so we are not allowed to have any kachim. So therefore, we dafki don't have any roast meat at the Seder, right?
The brisket doesn't
count. Of everything anyway.
Right, what?
The brisket doesn't count as roast because it's not as...
What, brisket?
Brisket?
I don't know. Some people have a minute. Certain Sfardim will eat. They won't eat what? Just roast. They won't eat roast lamb, but they'll eat other type of meat. It depends on the minhagim. Okay. Al tochem no. Don't eat it raw. Vashal bushal mayim. Not kiyim tzliesh. Rosh hakroa bakir. But you have to eat it roasted on a spit, right? Tzliesh. Roasted with fire.
Didn't somebody try to do it here one year?
Right. But don't try this today because there's no Beis Hamikdash. This is shchutei chutz. It's chayiv karet. Someone offers a Korban Pesach today. It's like offering a Korban outside the Mikdash. That's chayiv karet. You're not allowed to do that.
There's still
right?
holiness on the Temple Mount.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're tamei. We can't go up there. You need a mizbeach. This can only be brought on the mizbeach. We ain't got a mizbeach today. You're right. Tuma hutra betzibor. You're right. Who does a Talmud Chacham? But the problem is that you'll start a holy war, and number two, you can't.
The first problem.
That's the first problem, and but you need a mizbeach, right? You can't offer. You don't need a temple building.
Right.
All you need a makam mizbeach, and that you don't know unless your navi comes and tells you the makam mizbeach. Okay, so tumah wouldn't be a problem. You just need to know the makam mizbeach. So therefore, today, for the last 2,000 years, we have. You need to where to build the mizbeach. There's a certain spot on the courtyard where the mizbeach has to be built, and the Rambam says only a navi can tell you where that spot is. Okay. Okay, so interesting. Yeah. Pasuk Yud was the Torah Menuat Boket. Do not leave over. The Korban Pesach must be consumed by what? By Boket. Anything left over, till the morning has to be burned. Now again, here you have machlokas tanoim min Torah. One Tana says that you can only eat the Korban Pesach until what? Midnight. The Torah says don't leave it over at Boker. So Rabbi Kiva takes the verse literally. And Rabbi Kiva paskins that you can eat the Korban Pesach ad alot hashachar. But even he admits that the rabbis make a gzeirah. We don't want you to fall asleep, so the rabbi make a gzeirah, don't eat the lamb chop after midnight. Even though in Torah you can eat the lamb chops until what? Until morning. But if we let you go past midnight, you might fall asleep, and then you'll be over noisa, leaving over the lamb uneaten until the morning. You transgress a negative commandment. So therefore, the rabbis move in the fences, and they say, stop eating b'chatzot, right? But if you pass chatzot, Rabbi Kiva says, min Torah, you can still eat it until what? Alot hashach, until boker. Until boker, okay? Now, there are no extra words in the Torah. Look at verse Yud very carefully, Rabbi Gershon. The word boker is repeated twice. I get the picture. It's bothering Rashi. Vasir menu ad boker, don't leave it over until morning. But also menu ad boker, if you leave it over until morning, be'esh tesrofu, it's burned, right? Why is the word boker repeated twice? Rashi asked that question. Rashi Yud, left column. There are no extra words in the Holy Torah, right? Rashi Yud, v'anosa menu ad boker. Ma tamid lo ad boker pam shniya. That's the way I learned Hebrew, Yehuda, from Rashi, I'm telling you. Ma tamid lo ad boker.
I'm still waiting for it to sink in.
Ad boker pam shniya. Why is the word boker written a second time? I get the picture. If you leave it over until the morning, burn it. Why written morning twice? So Rashi says, you know why? Litein boker al boker. Wow. Shaboker mashmoy mishas hanetzach hama. When is morning? You know, the rabbis disagree a lot. When is morning? Does morning begin at alot hashachar, or does morning begin at netzach hama? What is the gap between them? 38 minutes or what?
Netzach Hama is...
Netzach Hama is sunrise, 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 sunset.
Yeah.
Alot HaShachar is the morning, the star. The dawn, go away, I'm no good for you. Dawn.
So that's
How,
earlier.
was that 38 minutes?
Alot HaShachar is earlier.
Much earlier.
Yeah.
The question is how many minutes earlier? So Rashi's puzzled.
Or is the Magad
When
David,
is Boker? Is it
Magad Avraham?
Alot HaShachar? Is it dawn? Is that morning? Or is dawn and that's a Hama? So here the Torah is addressing that problem. What? Oh, okay, let's take a look. Shaboker mashma mishasa that's a Hama. See footnote Nun? Reb Gershom, footnote Nun. Yeah. The Perki Boka Amud HaShachar. In tractate Psachim and Brachot, Boker is Amud HaShachar. B'tzorach Iyun. Because there Rashi says that Boker is what? Amud HaShachar. And here he says Boker is what? Netzach Hama.
But his Boker al Boker.
Okay. Ubo HaKosiv Lahagdim She'oseh B'Achila Malot HaShachar. So even though real morning is what? Sunrise, sunrise. Torah says Boker twice, that you have to stop eating the shawarma by the first boker. When's the first boker? Dawn. Mordechai. See how the Torah works? The Torah is addressing the problem. Well, the real morning, please stand up.
It's the same as tzitzis.
Okay, you're right.
No.
It's connected. 1 second. Shaboker mashma mishas netzach hama. Normally, boker is netzach hama. But the Torah writes boker pamayim ba'akos lahagdim. That even though morning begins at Netzach Hama, but you still have to stop eating the shawarma ma'alot hashachar, the first boker, which is what? About 38 minutes earlier, I think.
How do you explain the footnote?
So that's what he said, Tzorech Iyun. Rashi seems to contradict himself. He says, Tzorech Iyun. Besuch von Akasha starpen ist vor weiter. Never heard that? Von Akasha starpen ist vor weiter. Rabbi Yaakov, how do you say that? Never heard that? A Rebbe used to say, my Rebbe, you don't die from Akasha. You fall weiter. Rashi seems to contradict himself from tractate Brochot and Psachim, but okay, anyway.
Here's going to tell you how long many minutes. Just a second.
Okay, I think
dawn
it's...
is the beginning of the morning twilight.
Okay.
They show a little...
And sunrise is how much after that?
Twilight is the same period. Twilight and twilight between sun and dusk is the same thing. between sunrise and dawn, first of all.
All right.
There's different times at different places.
All right.
Right?
So let's just get a round figure. Let's.
At different elevations.
Okay.
Right.
So that's one explanation why the word boker is written twice. That even though the morning, as we know, it begins at Zachama, you have to stop eating it by the first boker, which is Alot HaShacha. You have to stop eating the shwarma. You can't eat it after that. Right? Okay.
I don't know if I want to.
It's a technical term. It's when the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon
All right.
in the morning.
But I want to get technical, but I want to move on. V'od medish achar, another explanation why the word boker is what, written what, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, why the word boker is Rashi, could be another explanation. Remember we said, when there's a two explanation, Rashi always favors the second one, right? V'od medish achar, Rabbi Gershon, limeid, this also say the night talk. Again, you can't say the same thing every year. Limeid she'ein nishaf b'yontev el machras. So if we were Karaites, thank God we're not, we would read verse Yud as what's left over, you should burn it boker. Which boker? Which morning?
I presume before.
Pesach morning, right? Pesach morning, you should burn the leftover shawarma, right? That's what I would think.
Okay.
So the old Torah says no. It says the word boker twice. Ooh. Listen how the oral Torah learns it. If the shawarma is left over in the first morning, what's the first morning?
15.
Pesach morning. Ad boker sheni tamo disrafenu. You have to let it stand there and don't burn it until boker sheni. What's boker sheni? Chalamot. You hear why the word boker is written pamayim, Reb Gershom?
Where? Boker Sheni?
Boker Sheni is the second morning of Yontif. The first morning of Yontif is Yontif.
Right.
The second morning of Pesach,
Chalamot.
it's Chalamot. So the Torah writes the word morning twice. That if the shawarma is left over until the first morning of Pesach, you can't burn it at the first morning of Pesach. You have to leave it over and only burn it on Chalamot morning.
You can't burn anything on Pesach, on Yom Tov.
Why not? Yontif, you're allowed to use fire. You're begging the question. If you're allowed to smoke on Yontif, why can't you burn the shawarma on Yontif? Stay tuned. But this is what the oral Torah teaches me,
You just can't start
that
a
you
fire.
can't leave the leftover. Minat Torah, you can start a fire too. The rabbis say don't. Minat Torah, you can strike a match on Yontif. The Chum say don't do it. We practice rabbinic Judaism.
You keep your yahrzeit candle lit.
We do that. That's a rabbinic injunction. Minat Torah, there's no problem creating fire on Yontif. Yontif.
Oh, not yahrzeit, yeah.
The rabbis say, we don't want you to do that. Make sure you have an existing flame. So the question is, if you're allowed to play with fire on Yontiv, why can't you burn the shawarma?
Yeah.
So we're going to get to that. But this is what the oral Torah is teaching me. What? 1 second. Via Haltman. Uh-huh. Yes?
So you could go on a bus,
No. Shmuel. Hi, Shmuel.
Let me go on the bus.
theory, on Yontif.
Go ahead.
On Yontif, there is not problem
We're in class.
of having the ticket or not having the ticket. To go on a bus on Yontif,
Going on a bus on Yontiv.
it's not lighting a fire. The fire is
Well,
whatever.
what's going on a bus on Shabbos? You're not driving the bus.
Yeah.
So what's your question? Marat Ayin. Marat Ayin. Okay, people will accuse you, right?
But
It's Marat Ayin.
What is Marat Ayin on
People will
on
accuse you
Yontif?
on Yontiv.
Which is the Marat Ayin on
What's Marat Ayin on Yontiv, Gershom? What's the problem? Marat Ayin on Yontiv, what? We don't do it. It's not Yontiv dik. It's Wochendik. Right? You're right. There's no Torah violation, but it's Vachadik. It's Tirchad Yisay, Uvda Dechol. Rabbinic parlance, it's called Uvda Dechol. Right? Uvda Dechol, Tirchad Yitera, so we don't do it. But getting back to our...
What was the answer? You don't ride the bus in Yom Tov because...
It's Uvda Dechol. Tirchad Yitera. It's a Vachendik. It's a Vachendik.
More Zion?
More a sign, but more than that, it's not the Ruach of Yom Tov, right?
It's not
It's
Shabbos.
not a Torah
It's
violation.
not Shabbos stick?
It's not Yom Tov
Yom
dik.
So I say
Right?
so. It's not Shabbos stick?
It's,
It's different than on Shabbos. Shabbos is an Averah.
You get the head sliced off.
What?
By the Yom
No,
Tov.
what? Riding a bus on Shabbos? What are you doing? Minat Torah, what are you doing? You're not riding the fire.
Ticket?
You're carrying a ticket. Let's say you have an Erev. The bus driver is driving. So it's uvda dechol. Minat Torah, you wouldn't be punished for riding a bus on Shabbos. Let's think of, what are you doing? What should the 39 malachas are you doing by riding a bus on Shabbos? You're not driving the engine. You're not lighting the fire. Electricity is fire, the engine. You're just riding there. So Minat Torah, you're not doing nothing. But again, the rabbis say don't do that. It's not Shabbosdik. Right?
What is different from Malit Shabbat?
Malit Shabbat. So when it first came out,
What is the difference?
Malit, you're not pressing no buttons. So automatic Shabbos elevator, right? You're not doing nothing. The difference is Marasayan.
That's right, you can ride an elevator.
That's right. You don't press the buttons. The Shabbos elevator stops on every floor, right? Right.
Well, if people notice the shops, it's not my sign.
That's right. But the bus is Marasayan, definitely.
An escalator would be the same thing. You can step on an escalator.
An escalator,
You're not doing anything.
you're not doing anything. You're passive. That's right.
Nothing on there at all.
That's right. So V. Haltman. So what's our question of Gershon? What is the Talmud? Rashi quotes Pesachim, and then what? And if it's left over, you cannot burn it. What? On Yontiv, we just said that Yontiv you're allowed to use fire. Light my fire. Light my fire. So, but the question is why? So the oral Torah tells us that you can light a fire on Yontiv for constructive purposes. You want to cook your meat. You want to warm your meat. You want to bake challah. For constructive purposes, oichel nefesh. But burning shwarma, what kind of oichel nefesh is that? It's no oichel nefesh. It's destruction. So that's a malacha. The Torah only gave you a heter to use fire for oichel nefesh. For a body come. That's oichel nefesh. You want to heat your house on Yontif, you can. You turn on the heat, you're allowed to do that. Oichel nefesh means for constructive body purposes. People don't know that. You can heat your home on Yontif.
Well, the same day only.
For that day, of course. But here, what are you using the fire for? Is there a constructive purpose? You're destroying.
But you got
the Torah never gave you a heter for that. So if someone burns on Yontif for destruction, he would get malchus. He's Oivra Malacha. Yontif does not mean malchus. So therefore, to teach me that, the Torah has to write the word Berka 2 times to teach me that fire can only be used for constructive purposes on Yontif. But if you're doing something destructive, you cannot do it on Yontif. And therefore, the word Boker second time means that you have to delay burning it until what? The second morning, which is when? Very good.
Rabbi,
What?
I got a positive commandment.
1 minute here, what?
If you find chametz on Pesach, you gotta cover it.
Koif Olav Kli. Koif Olav Kli, right? Beautiful.
If you
You
find
can't
chametz-
burn it on Yontif. Ooh.
Wait a minute, if you find Pesach
You
in your
find
house,
chametz on Pesach. On Pesach, Nebuch.
yeah.
So the halach is Koif Olav Kli. You have to put a vessel over it, cover it, and only when Chalamoid are you allowed to what burn it. Why can't you burn it on Yontif? Because
It's destructive.
you only use fire, Tony. You can only use fire for constructive purpose on Yontif.
All right,
Burning
I'm
chametz
gonna
is
be-
destructive. So therefore, you have to cover it. You have to cover it because you might forget, and it's a delicious Danish, and you might forget that it's Pesach. Oh, I love Danishes. So you cover it up. You shouldn't come to eat it, and then after Havdalah, Motzei Yontiv, Chalamoy, then you burn it.
So you could switch on
What?
Yontif, you could switch on the plata.
On Yontiv, you could switch on the plata. Yeah, you can switch on the plata. Yeah, that's right.
But what about,
Yeah.
what about, you just said it's no constructive purpose. If the Torah gives me a positive commandment,
Yeah.
burn the hummus.
But it's burn the
Burn
shawarma.
that-
But
isn't that-
when?
isn't it-
We're not Karaites. Burn the shawarma, boke pamayim. Burn the shawarma only in the second morning.
Yeah.
Ah.
Because I can argue
That's the source that fire can only be used, what? For constructive purposes. Fashtei. Okay. So therefore it says boke pamayim. Okay? Good.
I'm not satisfied that.
Why aren't you satisfied?
It's a positive commandment to
It's
do
a
so.
positive
So
man
therefore it's not
to
destructive.
burn the leftover shawarma.
Yeah.
The question is, which morning should you burn it?
I understand.
So the Talmud says the reason it's written Boka Pamayim is to teach the principle that fire can only be used on Yontif for constructive purposes.
I'm I'm saying the
Not
commandment.
Not
of
just a
this-
cooking, heating your house.
You're not listening
Heating your
to me.
house too.
You're not listening.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not listening.
constructive.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not listening. I'm saying that if the Torah gives me a positive commandment, that's a constructive purpose.
So if you're cooking Amalek, it's a
Right.
constructive purpose.
Yes.
Oh.
You're not
But it's
listening.
constructive
Why does
Torah.
the oral Torah give?
I
Why
hear
does the
you.
written Torah write the word boka twice?
Okay. Then tell
You
me
see,
the second. Tell me the second more.
You see, tell me, teach me. That's how the oral Torah, the written Torah, you can't have one without the other. You
So
see?
that answers my question. Even though I got a good teretz, the law says it's not.
Tradition.
All right, but it's
Right?
not-
We have the
don't
old
tell-
Torah, Baruch
but don't
Hashem.
tell-
We have
Don't
the
tell me
old
it's not a
Torah.
good teretz because it is a good
Okay.
teretz.
Okay. Now, let's do some text analysis. You came just to hear this, Tony. Text analysis. Here it says, you shall eat the shawarma tzliesh. Page 195. This is the mafta reading. This is Seder night talk. I'm telling you, you can't say the same thing every year. Tzliesh. Here the Torah, this is the mafta this Shabbos. I'm going to read this Shabbos.
Parshas Par.
Pashas Chodesh.
Chodesh.
Here the Torah commands that the shawarma must be eaten tzliesh. Yes?
It's the ish.
Upan 101. Everyone knows tzliesh means what? Roasted with fire, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's go to Devarim, Yehuda, and do some text analysis. And there it seems to say something different.
Devarim, okay.
Right? Here it says tzliesh, yes? Only roasted with fire. Not cooked. Yes? Good. Go to Devarim, Yehuda.
So,
1 minute. Page 586. Wow. I'm glad I came today. 586. The same Torah, the same God, and here God says what? Pasuk Vav. Ki mel hamakam shivcha. You can't shech the Korban Pesach in the backyard. Right? Mm-hmm. That's why Ray didn't want to become Jewish. Because a Jew, Ray, the one I taught to make the Korban, a non-Jew can make a Korban anywhere, but a Yid can only bring a Korban, Vav ki imel ha'makom, ha'makom. The place, Hashiyivcha Hashem Elokecha, only the place which God shall choose, L'shaken Shemo Sham, to make his name dwell there. See, where's the word Shekhinah? See that? L'shaken Shemo Sham. Tizbach HaSapes, only over there. Ha-Mokom, over there. Only there can you what? Bring the Shech to Pesach. The Erik Shemesh, Moitzei Schem
Since he
Mitzrayim.
was a non-Jew, if we supervise.
So a non-Jew can bring a korban. A
supervise the
non-Jew
Shida-
can only bring an olah. And a non-Jew can do it in his backyard. That's why Ray didn't want to become Jewish. Okay? It's amazing. A non-Jew can do something today that we can't do. We cannot bring a korban. You never saw my film, Tony. You said Universal
I
Laws?
saw it.
You see Ray, that tzaddik? Never, he was killed in a terror attack. You never met Ray, did you? He used to be a governor in the Philippines. He was friendly with Marcos. He gave up a career as a governor in Philip, and he became a righteous Gentile. And he came to this yeshiva. I taught him the Noachide laws and how to make a korban. He was killed, yeah, in Tel Aviv.
When was that?
I told you that.
That was
During the Intifada.
Has anyone else been killed after coming here?
He became the ultimate sacrifice. Him and 1,000 other people. To the Oslo Peace Treaty. More than 1,000 Yidden Nebuch. Anyway. Vihaltman. Okay? So there you shall shech the Pesach, right? Now, what should you do with the meat? Reb Gershom. Pasuk Zayin.
Here.
Shalta b'chalta b'makom asher yifnai.
Say what?
Shalta.
You shall boil it
B'chalta b'makom.
and eat it. Help!
No sliyesh, huh?
Help! I need somebody. In our parsha, we're going to read Shabbos, God tells us you should eat it sliesh. Here God says, wait a minute, you shall boil it.
Cooking.
So the Rashi is the oral Torah, of course.
Bake it maybe?
No, Bishalta, Bishul means what? Cooking, right? So what's the obvious question, Tony?
Why is he giving a different mouth?
Not to mix me up, but this is where the oral Torah works. Look at this. Fasten your seatbelts. Look at Rashi Yud Zayin. See, Rashi did me a favor. Instead of taking out these 900 books and putting them on the table, Rashi did me. He did it all, and he put it on the page. You see what Rashi did without a computer? Instead of taking all these books down, he took it out without a computer and he put it on. It's so concise. The Shakla V'Taya, 90 pages. Rashi squeezes it out and he puts the talent. Zer Tzliya, Rashi says, based of course on Tractate Pesachim,
Which,
Zion, see Rashi Zion, see my finger? Ubishalta, Zer Tzliyesh. When the Torah says bishul, it also means what? Roasted with fire. Afu kara bishul. Because what? Tzliyesh is also called what? Cooking.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can go like this,
Why go like that?
hello, Alfie. Fasten your seatbelts for this. What's the oral Torah? Rashi quoting something. What's it all about? Alfie. You know what the answer is? The answer is the oral Torah is addressing those guys that work in McDonald's for 20 shekels an hour. It says, Lo tevashel gedi b'chalev imo. Don't cook meat and milk together. Even if you don't eat it, just for cooking meat and milk together, you transgress a negative commandment. That's what it says. Wait a minute. So I might think you can't cook meat and milk together. What about frying them together? You put the slab of cheese on the burger. You're not cooking it. You're frying it.
You're Friday, yeah.
That's not cooking. Maybe for that, it's permitted. So therefore, you hear this from Gershon. Therefore, the Torah writes, Bishul and Tzliyesh, that when the Torah says, don't cook meat and milk together, I don't only mean the Isra to cook meat and milk together, but to put the cheese and the burger together on the grill, even though you're not cooking it, you're frying it, that's also called what? Bishul, and your negative commandment. So therefore, the oral Torah has to do it this way. Don't you see? The beauty of the oral Torah.
The sausage cheeseburger.
Just for frying a cheeseburger, 20 shekels an hour, Nebuch, the poor guy, transgresses a negative commandment. Nebuch, he doesn't know. But I wouldn't know that because the Torah says, Lo tevashel. Don't cook meat and milk. It doesn't say nothing about roasting or frying meat and milk, so I would think that's permitted. So the Torah has to tell me that bishul is called tzliyesh. When I tell you don't cook meat and milk, I also tell you what? Don't roast it. How do I know that? From Korban Pesach. See how the oral Torah works? I tell you something here, and I want you to plug it in over there. Don't you see the beauty of the oral Torah?
What is the definition of cook?
That's what he tells us.
That's what,
He's telling
Well,
us
bishul. What
the
does cook
point-
mean?
I don't know. I mean,
You,
The whole
well,
point is that his whole point is that you could say that it's a fake and it's a conflict.
Like tevashel
but
gedi.
His whole point is that actually we learn the definition of cooking from this point right here without it actually saying what cooking means.
No,
It includes everything.
that's why the Torah used the word bishul and tzliyesh, not to confuse me.
because you,
To
can,
teach
you
me,
can boil.
when
you
I
can
tell
roast,
you,
Right.
you can.
when I tell you don't cook meat and milk together, I also mean don't roast it together. What's the source? Korban Pesach.
Frying.
The
Otherwise,
Torah is teaching me that Korban Pesach in one place is
cooking
roasted,
is never defined.
and we know it has to be roasted. That's and how come it says
juxtaposition
cooking?
teaches us.
To teach me the halacha by what? By bosa v'cholov. This is how the oral Torah works. You see how it works? It's beautiful. You take it here and you plug it in there. Don't you see the beauty of the oral Torah?
That's how we get the definition.
לא תבשל גדי בכלל עמו.
Right.
It's written 3 times.
Why is it written 3 times? Echad isra bishul,
Yeah.
echad isra achila, echad isra hana'ah.
Okay.
You can't own stock at McDonald's. But what about roasting meat and milk? That's not bishul. So I might think that's okay. So no, the Torah has to put a plant in Korban Pesach to teach me that what? That including in bishul is also roasted. How do I know? Because the Korban Pesach, the Torah says, cook it, and it really means what, Alfie?
I could
Beautiful, roasted. The charaya that roasting and cooking are what? So happy together.
I could imagine that this applies only on Pesach.
What? Versteh ich like Kasche? Versteh nicht.
The kasha is
Ja.
they could have, the Torah could have changed Lo tevashel. The 3 times he says it.
Right.
In one of them, put it
Differently, frying it.
frying or on alaesh. If
Three
it
times
if
there.
it speaks of this only here, you can say that this applies only on the Korban
You
Pesach.
say what you want, but this is our Masorah. This is our Masorah, Yaakov. The our Masorah is that's why the Torah writes by Korban Pesach Bishul and Tzliyesh to teach me by Basa v'Chalav. What does Korban Pesach got to do with Basa v'Chalav? What?
Nothing.
Nothing. But God says, I want you to connect it.
Oh,
You see how we're all connected. What does Korban Pesach do with Basa v'Chalav? Everything.
'Cause that's where we
That's
get
the beauty of the oral Torah.
That's where we get the definition.
Don't you see?
If
That's the
it
Masorah.
says that-
Tradition.
In English, cooking includes frying, no?
It
When I
could
say
be.
I'm
It could be.
cooking,
It could be.
You could fry it, you could
Because
boil
it doesn't matter what the English is because
Exactly.
you know we're worried about the Hebrew.
I have,
Well,
I
I
have
think
Hebrew
one
has a
definition.
conflict.
One rabbi
applies the same way
said
the Hebrew.
Go ahead.
cooking means
The
heating
Hebrew
it
and
to
English-
yatzua the
the
kol.
English is applying the same way.
Cooking
as-
means in water, doesn't it?
Cooking.
The pot with water, no?
Anything heated to
Anything you cook.
yatzua the
And what does broiling and roasting mean?
That's also cooking. At least in my English
Well,
it is.
that's my confusion. That's where I'm all mixed
Well, it's
up.
not confusion.
It sounds pretty.
It's the
It
same-
sounds pretty
the same-
strong in
the
English.
Torah says
It
this
sounds
word.
strong. I
Roasting,
have to
boiling,
agree.
It's all
I would
cooking.
say that in English,
But
you're right.
I'm
At
not-
the
we're not
in English,
American though. We're not American.
no, in
We're
English, cooking includes all the different forms.
British. Yeah.
The shalto zetzliye, shalti korabishal.
But
there's no
Hebrew,
conflict.
But that's how the
conflict
Parish
in
of
English,
Apeh
but
works.
in
Maybe
Hebrew
that's
it's
the point
conflict.
what
He
you
says-
What?
What about
Well, he
to
says
put
Rashi
anything
tells
that
us no
may,
conflict.
you
In order to
put
teach
coal
Otherwise,
together,
we
milk
would know.
Well,
and
that
meat.
means there is no conflict.
Cold.
So,
You put
it's
it
the same
together.
Cold.
Cold.
They're not
But
cooked.
yeah, otherwise
you
it would be
transgress
because
something?
Hebrew is very definite.
You make
The
a
difference
sandwich.
between Hebrew and- so even in English, there's a difference between baking
What?
and
You
frying.
make a sandwich, you put meat
And
and
cooking covers both baking
cheese
and
on the
frying.
same sandwich.
And-
Min Torah,
But they're
you're not
cold.
over nothing. 1 minute.
It'd be
If you
different.
eat meat and cheese min Torah, if they're not cooked together, min Torah, you're not over
You
nothing.
take a piece of salami that's cold.
And a piece of cheese, and you make a sandwich min Torah, you didn't do nothing wrong.
Cheddar cheese.
But we practice rabbinic Judaism.
Therefore-
The rabbis
Therefore they're in
say,
trouble.
since the Torah didn't allow you to cook salami and cheese together, and you're going to eat them uncooked, you first of all, it's marasayan. People say maybe you did cook them together. And if we allow you to eat it uncooked, tomorrow you'll forget and you'll cook them and eat them together. So that's a rabbinic
Eating
injunction,
cold salami
right?
cheese
Min
is
Torah,
better.
the issue is only
Hot salami cheese
not to
is
eat
better.
meat and milk after it's been cooked together. The rabbis extend the fences and they say, no, even if it's not cooked together, don't eat it, because Morris Ayin, number 1, Morris T. Ayin, remember him?
Oh.
Morris T. Ayin. And number 2, you'll forget and you'll, if you allow you to eat it this way, you'll forget and come to cook it and eat it
Will
together.
we forget in the world to come?
Well, stay tuned. I don't know.
So that's you. That's
No, I'm just saying, will it
What?
apply in the world to come? The same distinction.
So we practice rabbinic Judaism, and therefore we don't eat, even though if the salami and the cheese were not cooked together, we don't eat it together.
Wasn't that a problem with the Ethiopians because
They didn't have this rabbinic
didn't have
injunction.
rabbinic.
That's right.
so they would eat.
They would eat, or they would eat chicken and milk. Min
That is
Torah, you're
chicken-
allowed to eat
that
chicken.
is chicken
Min
out of
Torah,
that
you
Torah.
can eat chicken and milk. Do you know that?
yeah.
This is only basar. But the Chachamim said, wait a minute.
Yeah,
If
chicken
we're
and-
going to let you eat chicken and milk together, then you'll mix up. You come to eat beef and milk. That they didn't have that injunction. The Ethiopian Jews, they were like disconnected. They never had the rabbinic injunction.
chicken-
They didn't know
chicken
that. So there's
parmesan.
nothing wrong with Torah to have chicken parmesan. Torah is nothing wrong with it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we practice rabbinic Judaism, right? You
After
know,
Mashiach comes, then we can.
well,
do
after
that.
Mashiach comes, I don't know. Stay
Do the
tuned.
Ethiopians still have that practice? Or
No,
they-
once they join the Jewish people, they have to accept all the rabbinic injunctions, right? And they did it voluntarily and willingly, right? Yeah.
Better than living under Haile Selassie.
Uh-huh. Now, how do you know that you have to stop eating chametz on Erev Pesach at 12 o'clock? Isn't that strange? The middle of the day is strange. Until 12 o'clock, Minat Torah, we move in the fences. We stop at 10. But Minat Torah, you have to stop eating chametz 12 o'clock. When? Erev Pesach. You ever shift like that? Half of the day, till 12 o'clock, I can eat chametz. If you eat chametz on Erev Pesach after 12 o'clock, you transgress a Torah law. Where do you find in the Torah that a day is what? Is it or ain't it? It'll be a little bit pregnant. You could be a little bit pregnant. Now,
Is that the same as 6 hours between meals?
no, nothing to do with that. So the source is here, right? Page 585, Pasuk Gimel. Loi toichal olav chametz. Don't eat on it chametz. On what shouldn't you eat chametz? Now remember, Rabbi Gershom, if your Gimel comes right after Bet. We meant 2 psukim in the Torah there next door, right? Look at Pasuk Bet. V'zovachta Pesach l'Hashem Elokecha. You shall shecht a Pesach to Hashem your God, right? When do you have to shecht a Pesach to Hashem your God? Erev Pesach at high noon, right? We know that from our Parsha. Parsha's Bo, this Shabbos reading, tells us that the Pesach has to be shechted Erev Pesach 12 o'clock. So the Torah says, shecht it, and look at Pasuk Gimel, Loi toichal olav chametz. Stop. Don't eat on it chametz. What does that mean? Don't eat on what chametz? It's connected to Pasuk Bet.
Yeah, Bepet, yeah, Korban.
When the time comes to shech the Pesach, which is when? Erev Pesach at high noon. Remember Gary Cooper? So then, Loi toichal olav chametz. So it's an open pasuk in the Torah that you can eat chametz and Erev Pesach until 12 o'clock. The rabbis moving the fences, of course, 10 o'clock. Loi toichal olav chametz. Don't eat on it. On what? Pesach Bet. It's connected. When the time comes to shech the Pesach, that, which is 12 o'clock Erev Pesach, then you have to stop eating what?
Chometz.
Chametz.
Yeah.
See how beautiful it is?
Yeah.
So that's why, that's the source. But the rabbis move in the fences, okay?
So they make it 10 o'clock.
They make it 10 o'clock or 10:30. But Minat Torah, you can eat chametz until high noon Erev Pesach. Then you have to stop because Loi toichal olav chametz, when you zavachta Pesach Lashem, Beis and Gimel go together.
Didn't we,
Listen to me.
Yeah.
If someone were to eat chametz, Reb Gershom, on Erev Pesach after 12 o'clock, what would the punishment be? No. Hey?
40 lashes?
Lashes. Chorus is only on Pesach itself. The Rambam tells me that.
Why?
You can't eat chametz after 12 o'clock. It's a lav, lo tochal. It's like eating pig. Eating pig is only lashes. When does chorus kick in? Karet, lo yaleinu? Pesach itself.
So have the pig,
That's Seder night talk.
have the pig on
I'm
white
telling you.
bread.
No, listen to me. You see this, Ephraim? Lo tochal of chametz. So eating chametz on Erev Pesach after 12 o'clock, the person would get malchus, like eating pig. The karet kicks in when? That night.
Yeah.
Because it's not Yontif yet. And still you can't eat chametz. Because loy toich all of chametz when zavachta Pesach, which is Erev Pesach. Strange, right? Okay. Now here, look how the oral Torah works. Without it, you're so lost in space, Rabbi Yaakov. Look at Pasuk Bet. In Pashas Bo, it says that the Korban Pesach can only be a shepsala. A shepsala or a goat, right? That's what it says in the Mafter reading, right? Look what it says in Pasuk Bet. Any volunteers? V'zavachta Pesach Hashem Elokecha tzona bakar. You can shech the Pesach, shepsala, or bakar. What does bakar mean? Beef. B'mokom asher yivchar, again, only in the place where Hashem shall choose for his shechina to be there. So wait a minute, I'm confused. You told me in Exodus 12, the Maftir, the Shabbos, that the Korban Pesach can be only what? Shepsalas. Shepsala family. Sheep and goat. Here it seems to say something else. It says, Tzonu Bakar. Help!
It's even better.
What? And we know that's not so. You can't use bakar for a korban pesach has to be dafka the sheep family, which includes goats. You hear the question the Gemara Pesachim asks?
Good question.
Good question. So, thank God for Rashi. I don't want to pull out all these books. Even on top shelf over there. Get up there. How do you get up there? So look at Rashi quotes the Gemara. Take a look. Pesachim. Rashi, wie halten? That's pasuk what? Bet, right? So Rashi quotes our parsha, Exodus 12. This backs up Exodus 12, the Maftir reading, that it has to be dafka the sheep and goat family. Bakar, you have to know where to put the comma, you see? You have to know where to put the comma. Let's go back to the text. See how the oral Torah learns it? Yehuda. Period. Ubakar, that's not referring to what? The Pesach. Bakar, what does Rashi say of Yaakov? Tizbach lechagiga. Besides the Korban Pesach, you have to also bring a Korban Chagiga. That's Bakar. So you have to know where to put the commas, don't you see? Or Bakar Tizbach lechagiga. See? Interesting, right, Yehuda?
That's the big stuff.
That's the representation. See footnote Shin, Reb Gershon. See footnote Shin. Da Pesach eino ba
Pesach eino
ela mina kvasim mina izim. So what does Bakar mean? Bakar is the Chagiga. So back in Rashi, you have it. Bakar tizbal Chagiga. Why do you the Chagiga for? She'im nimnu ala Pesach chabura meruba. Listen to this. Let's say, a Pesach, you can't have the meat left over. So you got to have a lot of people eating the lamb. You got to figure out who has a big appetite, who is. We want the lamb consumed before Alot HaShachar. So you have to get a lot of good eaters. How do you finish a lamb? Pretty, what? So
You can use a goat, right?
what? Take it to go. No, you got to eat it before Alot
You can
HaShachar.
use a goat.
A goat or a lamb.
Yeah, goats are small.
Rambam says it's the same family.
Yeah.
Ram goat. Yeah. She'im nimnu ala Pesach chabur ruba. Let's say a lot of people got together on one lemala. Now, each one has to have at least what? The size of a kazayas. Meviim imoy chagiga. So the first, we forget that on Seder night, Gershom, what was the main course?
Chagiga,
Beautiful.
not
The main course was chagiga. The Pesach was the jello.
Just for dessert.
I mean, how'd you know that? We don't, yeah. The Pesach was the dessert.
That's right.
The main course was, where's the beef? Mevi'im chagiga shenech, because the Korban Pesach had to be eaten a la sova.
Does it
The
have to-
Korban Pesach had to be eaten a la sova.
Full stomach.
When you're already satisfied. So how do you fill up? You can't fill up on the Pesach, because the Pesach can be eaten only after you're full. So what do you fill it up with? Korban chagiga.
Does it have to be?
Oh.
Does it have to be a bulk?
It has to be bakar.
How are you going to finish the lamb then if you're already
You're not
So leave
Lamb.
room for a
No,
kazayas.
the lamb you're eating a tiny little bit.
No, you have to eat the size of an egg. Kazayas. That's we eat the afikoman. The afikoman, that's the zecher korban pesach. You forget that. The afikoman we eat at the end of the meal. That's the zecher korban pesach.
They had already had a big bunch of beef.
Because the main course could not be the pesach. That could only be eaten a la sova. The English word satisfied. Sova, the English word, right? Satiated. So therefore, you have to bring the bakar, which is the korban chagiga. That's your main course, the beef. And then the shawarma was served, Alfie, as a dessert.
Steak.
You ever
was
eat
the
the,
main
what?
course.
The main
Steak
course
is
was
the main
steak. That's
course.
right, that's right.
Amazing.
Makes you happy, right? You have to be happy on Yontif. And the Talmud says in Psachim 109,
Plenty of wine.
Ain't simcha ela babasa v'yayin, right?
Plenty of wine.
The steak and wine makes you so happy, right? Okay.
Nice.
See that? So the Korban Pesach was eaten a la sova. Okay.
But it would take a lot of people to finish the lamb.
That's right. So you got to chip in, know your customers. When you register on a lamb, you take into account who eats a lot, who eats a little. Everyone has to have at least what? A kazayas. We don't want the lamb to left over because it's a negative commandment to leave any of the meat over. Right? Right, Yehuda? We don't want
Must have been a lot of bulls being skewed at first before the
to.
lambs.
Bakar. Where's the bakar? Where's the beef? Who said that? Where's the beef?
The old lady.
Old lady, where's the beef? One.
Or Wendy's. It was on a Wendy's commercial.
Okay. Now, look at Pasuk Gimel. Again, this is not our reading, but it ties in very nicely. It's not our reading, but it ties in nicely, right? To the Chodesh. L'tach olav Gimel. L'tach olav Chametz. Shiras yom toichel matzahs. You shall eat matzahs for 7 days. Lechem oni. Lechem oni. It's matzahs called lechem oni. Now, what does that mean? Let's see what Unkelos says. Lechem oni. Thank you very much. Unkelos says lechem oni. What does that mean? Poor man's bread, right? Ki b'chapazon, in haste, yatzatza me'eretz Mitzrayim, because in haste you left Egypt. L'man tizkos, you should remember the going out of Egypt all the days of your life. We do this mitzvah when we read the Shema. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, asher tzesi eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim. There's a positive mitzvah to mention the Exodus what? Every single day. See, it says you should remember the day of your coming out of Egypt, all your days of your life. We fulfill this mitzvah by reading the last pasuk in Shema. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, asher tzesi eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Li'oslechem Elokim. That's how we fulfill this pasuk of remembering the Exodus. Kol yemei chayecha, right? That God that quotes this, right, Gershom? Now, what does lechem oni mean? Want to read that, Gershom? Rashi, lechem oni. The bread that mentions the affliction. Oni also, besides poor, means to afflict. The same root in Hebrew. Because a poor man is what?
Like
Afflicted. Isn't that amazing?
Like he's
In
dead.
Hebrew,
When
the
broke-
same word for
when you're
poor
broke-
is
when
the
you're
same word for afflict.
broke, you're dead.
Because a poor man is afflicted.
You're broke, you're dead.
Lechem shemaskir et oni, the bread that mentions the affliction that we were afflicted where? Mitzrayim. Okay? Ki b'chapazon yatzasa. Now here you have something, because we left Egypt in haste, right? And we didn't have enough time for what? The dough to become Wonder Bread. Right? So look at footnote Tov. Ki b'cholcha matzah, when you footnote Tov, you have Rabbi Yaakov. When you eat the matzah tiskor, you'll remember as a chapazon the haste and the affliction. By eating the matzah on Pesach night, you will remind yourself of the haste and of what? The affliction. Now, whose haste was it? Whose haste?
Well,
Normally we sing about
What?
God told us to stay there until...
1 minute. See, we have to know. The Seder night talk.
Somewhere we know.
Whose haste was it?
Hashem was in a stress.
Whose haste?
Dus die Mitzrayim.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Look
Hey,
at
get the
Rashi.
heck out of here.
The haste was not on your part. Elo shel Mitzrayim.
Oh.
It was the Egyptians that were pushing us to get out. Shekeinu oimer v'terzak Mitzrayim alaham. Right? The Mitzrayim pressured the people to get out. Because they're afraid. They said what? We're all going to die.
We're
Remember?
all gonna die. Yeah.
Right? So the haste was lo shalachahaya. Many people think at the Seder night that it's our haste. That's what they think, no? No, but Rashi says chipazon lo shalacha. It wasn't, the haste was not on your part. Elo shel Mitzrayim. Shekeinu oimer v'terzak Mitzrayim ala'am. This is the Mafter reading. Rashi's sending me back. Laman Tiska. How do you remember the Exodus? How? The bottom Rashi Ephraim. How? Laman Tiskor.
למען תזכור על ידי אכילת הפסח והמצה את יום צאתך.
By eating, that's it.
No, that's it.
By eating the Pesach and the matzah, you relive. Alf, you like that word. You relive what? The Exodus experience.
Exodus, yeah.
So therefore, you have to eat matzah and morah and Pesach because the Exodus experience comes alive. You are what you eat, I think, right? We ate what they ate. So virtual going through what? The experience of the Exodus by eating what they ate. You remember as Yom Tzeischah the day of what? Of your going out. Okay? So now we can go back to the Pasha. Right? Back to the Maftir reading. Parshas HaChodesh. Exodus 12. Right? Exodus 12. Now, Pesach night is called Leil Shmurim. Right, Gershon? Why is it called Leil Shmurim? Page 200. Posuk Mem Bet.
The night of
Why is
Night
Pesach
walk.
night, Alfie, page 200, called Leil Shmurim? What does that mean? You know Hebrew. A night of watching. Shomer. You Shomer, China? A night of guarding. Oh, Hu Hashem. A night of guarding for Hashem. Lo Yitzia Meretz Mitzrayim, to take us out of Egypt. Hu Alayla Zeh Hashem. This is a special night for God. Shmurim. Yehuda. Shmurim. Shmur matzah. Chol b'nei Yisrael deraisa. So Rashi wants to know, what does it mean? It's a Leil Shmurim. That's why some people don't read Shema, right? On the Pesach night, they don't read the Shema when they go to sleep.
No.
There's a minute like that, no? Because it's a night where it's a special night where you're protected, right, Gershom? You read the Shema, say the night, Gershom. Say the night. You read the Shema before you go to sleep. There's a minute not to read the Shema, right? That's say the night before you go, because it's called Leil Shmurim.
Because why? Normally every radio says Shema
Night
for
of
the
watching.
sleep.
Yeah, but we read the Shema. There's a mitzvah to read the Shema at night. Where Yotza that Torah mitzvah with the Ma'ariv.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
The rabbis say read the Shema again before you go shlufen. It protects you from the mazikim. The Torah mitzvah, you read the Shema twice a day. So we do the mitzvah, we read it Shachris, read it Mariv. So why do you got to read it before you go to shlufen? Why? To protect you from the spooks of the night. But Pesach is called Leil Shmurim.
A night of watching.
So you don't need the protection from the spooks.
That night you don't have to say it?
No, that night there's a custom not to say the Shema before you go shlufen. The question is, why does God call it Leil Shmurim? A night of watching, or night of watching. What does that mean? Ooh, look at this incredible Rashi. You with me on this?
God is watching.
God is
See if
watching
the
out
blood
for
is
us.
on the door.
Oh, no, Rashi doesn't say that.
No.
Now, that was only a one-time deal, Tony. Never again. Only in Cairo do we have to put the blood on the door. Never again do we have to put the blood on the door. You know that. Only Pesach Mitzrayim you had to get your doors dirty, the walls. Any other Pesach, you didn't have to smear the blood on the walls. Question is why? Ma nishtana. Or, I guess, you didn't make a notebook. Ma nishtana Pesach Mitzrayim. You can't ask the same question. Why is Pesach Mitzrayim different? That only in Pesach Mitzrayim did God tell us to smear our walls with the blood. Never again did we have to do that.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah.
Okay.
One night deal.
So you're right. We didn't have the Torah. We're right. We didn't. We didn't get the Torah until 7 weeks later, right? 7 weeks later. Okay, but I'm not there yet. But it's a good kasha. Manishtano. Why is Pesach Mitzrayim different than all other Pesach? Only Pesach Mitzrayim did you have to smear your doors and the walls,
With blood.
the doors with blood, but never again. Okay, that's a separate issue. To answer this question, we're going to what? Very good. Remind me to get back to it. But now I'm up to Leil Shmurim. You won't find this in the Haggadah. You have to stray from the text. You just can't read the same thing. People fall asleep. They read the same thing every year. This is part of the Exodus experience, I'm telling you. The Rambam says that. Just can't stick to the text. You've got to bring in all of these angles. That's part of Yigara Tolabincha. That's part of it. Okay, V'halpin. Now, why does God call it Leil Shmurim? Look at this incredible Rashi, Membet. You with me, Ephraim? Right corner. Leil Shmurim, middle of the right corner, Alfie. Shehoya Kodesh Baruch Hu Shomer Umitzapeh. Listen to this. God was guarding Umitzapeh. You know what Mitzapeh means? Anticipation. Anticipation.
With anticipation.
God was guarding and anticipating. L'kayim avtachosoi, to keep his promise from 430 years ago. When did he promise Abraham? 430 years ago, right?
200.
No, mix me up. He promised Abraham 430 years ago. Right? Don't mix me up. We were only Egypt 210. But God promised Abraham 430 years ago. He promised him that there's going to be a special night.
Oh, amazing.
And God was anticipating and guarding, waiting anxiously, Kavayochel, when this night would what?
Come.
Finally come. Hu alayla hazeh. Look at the next Rashi. Hu alayla hazeh Lashem. See the next Rashi?
200 on the right side corner.
Yeah.
Page
Hu alayla, this is the special night, Sha'amal Abraham. He told Abraham 430 years ago,
בלילה הזה,
Balayla hazeh ani goel es bonecha.
I will redeem your
This
son.
night I will redeem your children, Abraham. You look at top of Pasuk Mem Aleph. Mahi meked shloshim shana babam me'eshana. You see the top of 200? At the end of 430 years. We know that we only there 210. It means 430 years from God's promise to Abraham. You see, Pasuk Mem Aleph on top. Mahi meked shloshim shana babam me'eshana. At the end of 430 years. From the promise. To Avraham Avinu. Yeah, that was 430 years ago when he made that promise. Right?
So what's the connection with 210?
That's how many times we were in Cairo.
We're only there.
We were in Cairo 210, but he promised Abraham 430 years ago that he's going to take us out on this special night. Right? Shmurim l'chol b'nei Yisrael. Look at that. Shmurim l'chol b'nei Yisrael. Why you don't say Krishma that night? Gershon, you read that. Shmurim l'chol b'nei Yisrael l'dorotam. See Rashi? Mishumar bo min hamazikin. No spooks can get you that night. You see, Rashi says that. Mishumar bo min hamazikin. Kenyan shenema lo yiten hamashchis. Okay.
Only that night this
That night. Look at footnote Dalet, Gershon. See footnote Dalet? Perush. That's the spooks, no?
Mezikin, jawohl, ja.
Mazikin. Mazda Mazikin.
Casper the
Whatever it
ghost.
means. Casper, the friendly ghost. I don't know.
He's not so friendly.
What?
He's not so friendly.
All right. So this is
King
special.
Solomon, King David or King Solomon had 40 guys around him the night of King Solomon. 40 guys around him, the swords around to keep him.
To keep the Mazikim away. What? Or keep the ladies away, maybe. He had 1,000 of them. Keep the ladies away. What? He got burned out. He died at 52. Shlomo died at 52. Look in the Divrei Hayomim. 52. Burned out. He became king at 12 and he ruled 40 years. I think it's called burnout.
מספר מוזר.
52? Shmuel HaNavi also died at 52. Shmuel HaNavi, the great prophet Samuel.
He didn't get burned out the same way.
No, Shmuel HaNavi died at 52. Le'ariah Kodesh died at 40.
39.
39. We don't know God's plan. We don't know.
Yeah, but 52 is
What?
52 is twice the name of God.
And it's also the word
Okay.
pen, son.
Okay, I don't know.
The Hazikim of God is ghosts.
Ghosts and goblins.
Whatever they are.
Whatever.
Two-legged ones.
Yeah.
Abu Mamzer.
Oh,
All those in Abu Mamzer and company.
52 is Ben.
Ben, that's right. But that's how old Shmuel Navi was, and that's how old Shlomo was when he died.
Where does it say Hazikim again?
Rashi on the right side. Alfie, she
Bottom
says
of the page.
Shmurim. She
200.
says Shmurim on the right side.
200. Bottom of page 200.
Shmurim Chol B'nai Yisrael Darotam. See that? In bold letters, Alfie. Shmurim Chol B'nai Yisrael Darotam. What does Rashi say? No?
The Shmurim.
Mishumar.
Shmurim.
No, read Rashi. No, the next one. No, the next one. Next one down. Shmurim Chol B'nai Yisrael. Next one. Shmurim Chol B'nai Yisrael.
In the notes at the bottom.
Mina Mazikin. You seen it? Mina Mazikin. Okay. Interesting, right? Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Haltman. Any questions so far? No? What? Mazikin. Okay, so
What's the root of the word mazikin?
mazik means to cause damage, trouble. To cause damage. Mazik. Nezek, beautiful. That's the, yeah.
Yeah, troublemaker.
Right, and Nezek, now,
You little Nezek, you know.
yeah, page 199, Pasuk Lamed Gimel. Vaterzak Mitzrayim ala am lemaher. English word hurry. The Mitzrayim pressured us. They pushed us. Uncle says they pushed us. Quickly, l'shalchem in art ki amru, because they said kilonu meitim. They said we're all dead. What do you mean all dead? But God only said the firstborn will drop dead then. Why did they say kilonu meitim?
Oh, I figured the first night.
No, look at Rashi. Rashi says something amazing. And this is backed up by historical records. Look at this incredible Rashi. Why did they say kilonu meitim? It was only the firstborn that's dying. Why did they say we're all dead? Look what they Rashi Lamed Gimel. You have that? Any volunteers? Amru loy kigzeras Moshe. It's not like Moshe decreed. Omar, Moses said in God's name. You see the quotations? Umet kol bechor. Only the firstborn will die. V'kan afapshutim metu. But here, even what?
The Pashutim, they died.
Chamisha Yasara Bayis Echad, 5 or 10 in the same house.
How that can be?
How can that be? How can that be?
What a mathematic.
What? God said only the firstborn. And here they see that what?
There are much more. Even there.
So what's Rashi based on? That the Mitzvah ladies were notoriously promiscuous.
Right.
So they had a lot of lovers, the butcher and the baker and the candlestick maker. So each one was a firstborn to the traveling salesman, or the butcher, or the candlestick maker. Don't you see?
Well, they couldn't all.
So if the wrong guy died, somebody's in trouble.
And this is backed up by historical records. You can go to the, thanks to Yehuda, we went to the museum in Brooklyn, where the Mitzri women were notoriously promiscuous. It's written in the hieroglyphics. Look how it's backed up. So the firstborn, each lover had a firstborn. So the hubby's confused. Wait a minute.
Wait, my son is still alive. Praise the Lord.
What? So that's Lord. They said, Kilonu meitim? Huh?
So why was Pharaoh angry with
Kilonu
Joseph?
meitim? What? Kanapshutim mesim.
Why was Pharaoh angry with Joseph?
What do you mean why was angry with
Should have
Joseph?
respected it.
Not
What?
Pharaoh,
And
you
he's
mean.
around with his wife.
No, not Pharaoh, you mean.
Potiphar.
Potiphar.
So she only acted according to the law of the land.
Tradition.
The tradition, right?
That's right. So why was he angry?
So that's what.
He wasn't really
Why was
angry.
he angry?
Why didn't he kill him?
He wasn't
Because it
angry.
was his wife.
He wasn't angry.
But it's amazing they didn't kill him.
It's typical.
They didn't kill him. You see, that was the way it was done. So therefore, each lover had a firstborn. So therefore, it was mass confusion.
Mass confusion.
So the Mitzvahs were
Put
confused.
him in jail to cover face.
Right? Kolonu me. That's right. Right? Kolonu mesim. Right?
The wife said put him in jail.
Mhm.
That was the primary problem.
Yeah. So.
Different
So why do we eat matzah? Look at Pasuk Lamed Dalid, back in the text. Vayisa amas b'tzeko, the people carried their dough, right? Terem yechmatz, before it became what? Chametz. Misharotam, the leftover, truas b'somlotam al shichman. The leftover matzah, they tied up on their shoulders, on the clothes on the shoulders, right?
Oh, that's why the Sephardim they make
Oh, now you know. See, Rashi was not a Sephardi.
understood it.
It's a good thing you came today. The Torah says that the leftover matzah, they slung over their shoulders. Now look at this incredible Rashi here. You with me or again me here? Look, Rashi Lamed Dalid. Terem yechmatz. Right column, Alfie.
Terem Yechma.
Hamitzim lo inicham lishod kedei chimutz. The mitzvah would not allow them to stay for the bread to become wonder bread. Misharotam. What does misharotam mean? Rabbi Yaakov Meir, please read that. Misharotam, no? Right column.
שיראה מצה ומרור.
The leftover matzah and maror, they put al shichmam. They put it on their shoulders. What about the leftover Korban Pesach? Look at footnote Kuf. Footnote Kuf, first line. Gershom, see that? How come just the leftover matzah maror they slung over the shoulder? What about the leftover lamb chops?
אבל,
Aval,
לא ש...
lo shura Pesach, but the leftover lamb chop they couldn't put on their shoulders. Sherehu notar, v'tzorech shreifa.
לצורך to
Because the
burn.
leftover lamb chop, that has to be burned. So that they couldn't sling over their shoulders. So what did they sling over their shoulders? And that's why the Yemenites have a custom to put the matzah maror on their shoulders. Look at Rashi back. Al shichmam, or will like this. She's a Yemenite. Al shichmam, Rabbi Yaakov.
Yeah. Ah,
Why did they put it on their shoulders? Look at the Rashi. Have it, Rabbi Yaakov. Yaakov, no. Al shichmam. Ephraim.
yeah.
Why?
Af.
Afal pi shebehemot harbe. They had many animals. Many animals they had. So why did they have to put the leftover matzah on their shoulders, Rabbi Yaakov? Why? They had many animals.
It was full of the body of the
Mechabevim hoyat mitzvah. They loved the mitzvah. It was so precious. Remember we said the matzah is God's wedding band?
Yeah,
Didn't we
holy-
say that?
holy
They're not going to put that on the beast of burden. Lovingly, they put it on their shoulder. Remember the Zohar said it's the wedding band? My endless love. That's why a matzah is round and a wedding band is round. My endless love. They're going to put that on a beast of burden. So that's why they
She must have heard you, she just called me.
see that? Oh, must have heard me from San Diego. Al Shichmam.
No such thing as going.
Mechavevim hoyat mitzvah. They loved the mitzvah. It was so dear to them, and they lovingly put the leftover matzah and on al shichmam. And that's why a lot of Sfardim, not just the Yemenites, do that at Seder night. Now you know why I do it, right? Hmm? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
Why was the Mara though? Why was the Mara?
Matzah mor.
No, but basically matzah. Why,
But they were eating Pesach matzah mor.
Why
It was also a mitzvah. Mitzvah to eat mor, no? So they loved that mitzvah. So they didn't want to put it on the beast of burden.
They had a bit of life in each.
It was a mitzvah. They eat mor was a mitzvah, right? Hmm?
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
Hmm?
I bought it like this.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? So what did the Jews do? Look at Pasuk Lamed Hey. Lamed Hey. Ubnei Yisrael asu kedva Moshe yishalu mitzrayim. What does yishalu mean? Vayishalu.
They asked for it.
They
They're
asked.
begging,
You see, the
pleading.
anti-Semites transferred. They borrowed, but she'elah in Hebrew, she'elah means to ask. Ask me a she'elah. By Yishalu, they asked the Mitzrayim, clay kesef, clay zav, usmolot. What does smolot mean?
Begodim.
Begodim,
Begodim,
right? Rashi makes a strange comment of Gershom. Smolot. See Rashi, right column? Rashi lamed heyu smolot. Af hein hoyu chashuvot lahem min hakesef min hazav.
Money.
The Mitzri clothing was more chashuv. What is chashuv? More important to them even than the silver and the gold. Why is that?
They were
Because I
Armani.
need to wear something.
It was Armani.
What clothing was more precious? The mink coat was more precious to them than the kesef and the zav, right?
What can you do with gold in the desert?
That's right. Where are you going to spend it? No 7-Eleven there, right? So the smolot was more precious to them than what?
The gold, yeah.
So,
Than the gold and the silver. You hear this, the smolot?
Why is it kosher the Rashi says in the bottom here?
What's kosher Rashi v'halpin? Lameli smolot. I mean, why tell me they took smolot? Why should? L'chein perished as smolot chashuvot lo hen min hakesef. The small is more important to them than the silver and the gold.
The colors. were
Because Doni said, where are they going to spend, right?
the Egyptians brought up a case against Israel, didn't they?
That's right. The Talmud Sanhedrin 91, they came to Alexander the Great, who was the Obama of his time, and they said, hey, they borrowed the stuff, give it back.
Yeah.
right? Vayishalu means to request, doesn't mean to borrow. It means to ask, right? And they gave it freely. Look at Pasuk Lamed Vav. You see Lamed Vav? Vayashem noten et cheinoam beinem Mitzrayim. You have it? Hashem gave the grace of the people in the eyes of Egypt. Vayashalum, and they gave them what they asked. Vayanatlu es Mitzrayim. Unkelos says, Vayanatlu es Mitzrayim. Look at Unkelos, Gershom. Verikinu, rake. They emptied Egypt out. See Unkelos Lamed Vav, the last three words?
Yeah, there you go.
Verokinu yas Mitzrayim. They emptied out Egypt.
Emptied her.
Empty, rake. Rake means to empty out. I'm reading Pasuk.
Spoiled.
It doesn't say spoiled. It says they emptied out. Unkelos says, can't trust the English. Unkelos says, Verikinu yas Mitzrayim. See the last three words in Unkelos Lamed Vav? Verikinu from the word rake. What does rake mean?
Empty.
Empty. They emptied out. They emptied Egypt out. Look at Rashi Lamed Vav. Vayishalum Ephraim. Af ma shelo hoyu sha'alim ehem. Even what they didn't ask, hoyu noistim lahem. They gave them. You hear?
Gave them, not nim lahem, yeah.
Right? Atoim echad. You say you want one tennis bracelet? Tol shnayim. Take two. Tennis bracelet. Why is it called tennis bracelet? I don't know. Why is it called a tennis bracelet? A diamond bracelet is called a tennis bracelet. You never heard that?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why, but you want one bracelet?
You
Tol
get two.
shnayim. Just get out. Vayanatzlu. Unkelos is Rashi quotes Unkelos here. Vayanatzlu. What does Unkelos say? Verokinu. They emptied out Egypt. Okay.
Yeah.
They emptied out
When you
Egypt.
said strip, I mean rake. Do you mean strip?
Rake in Hebrew
Strip.
means empty out.
Because this is also stripped.
Okay,
Took
I
off
know,
all their
strip.
clothes.
Strip, not necessarily have the clothes, take them off.
That means it means
The
they
verb natsum is
emptied
used
out.
also
So
in the
Rashi
sense of
quotes
stripping.
Unkelos, Verikino,
Not
right?
necessarily your clothes.
Right?
So we don't have an answer for why the clothing was more important than gold and...
Oh.
Leave them without-
So to answer this question, Ephraim, I will what?
Ask him.
Yes.
I mean,
I will ask another. You with me or against me? Okay?
Amazing that Rashi doesn't explain that
So if you
point.
talk on the Seder night this is Seder night talk. I'm not sure. The Rambam says that. You have to, different angles, you have to bring it in. You can't just stick to the text. What's the smolot? What are hung up at the smolot
she
for?
said it's the clothes, ornaments.
And Rashi said it's more important to them than what? Than the diamond tennis bracelets.
It's like the
Smolot. So to answer this question, we're going to what? We're going to
It
what?
was very
That's
expensive.
another question.
Yeah, let's go back.
It's a good thing you mentioned her name. I was supposed to call her.
You see that? A good thing I reminded you. Shalom Bayis. Oh.
Women take off their dresses, the small lot, and hang them.
Well,
Hang them up.
I don't know. They went to the closets.
So
I don't
it
know.
was empty afterwards.
But take a look. Let's go back to Shemot. You with me or against me on this? Let's go back to Shemot. This is all part of the Exodus story. Page 168. This is back where, Gershom, this is back at the burning bush, I think. Way back at the burning bush. From the get-go. Moshe's close encounter of the third kind, or first kind. What? Moshe's first close encounter of the burning bush, yes.
Yeah.
Look what God tells him on page 168. Okay, can you read that? Pasuk Chaf Aleph. You want to start there. I will give the grace to the people in the eyes of the Mitzrim, and when you guys leave, you won't leave empty-handed, right? You won't. Okay, very good. You won't leave empty-handed. 1 minute. There, go ahead. Pasuk Chabev Shala Isha Mishchenta. A lady shall ask of her neighbor. Go ahead. Is small. They'll ask is silver and gold and clothing. The samtem. And you shall put them on your sons and your daughters. You will. What'd you say? It says v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. Unkelos says that. V'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. Well, Unkelos, of course, Rashi comes from where? Gershom. Of course, he takes from Unkelos. Uncle Unkelos. You will what?
Spoil.
you will empty Egypt out. But Gershom, you made an amazing statement, Gershom. You made an amazing statement. You said the word Benetzaltem is what? Tell me what you said. What saved? You're quoting the great Benno Yaakov, who lived in Deutschland in the early 1900s, the Rebbe of Hoffman, a great Bible scholar. And he made Gershom's point.
So it's Hatzlaka.
The word Benetzaltem, Hatzalah, Hatzalah. He doesn't agree with no, I can't. He was a great Torah scholar. Benno Yaakov was his name. Yeah, the early 1900s, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, you got to hear this. Gershom was mechaven to the great Benno Yaakov. And he says, look, I know Hebrew. The word Benetzaltem is from the word Hatzalah.
So they saved the Egyptians from death by
They
taking
saved
their stuff.
Egypt from guilt feelings. That's what he says. The Egypt would have had a guilty conscience. They abused and worked these slaves for nothing. By giving them this gold and silver, you saved Egypt from a guilt complex.
They want to give money.
So says Benno Yaakov.
They want to give the blacks money now.
Do you hear what he said?
That's right.
But
Because he makes your point. V'nitzalten, the word, I know Hebrew. Of course, Rashi uncles don't agree. But this is what he says, and we know Ayin Panim LaTorah, 2 down, 68 to go. We know that of Gershom. And this is part of Seder Night Talk.
Half shekel earlier.
What?
Remember we talked about the half shekel earlier, and how when they gave the half shekel, it was saving them from sicknesses.
Yeah, okay.
Because they
Oh, yeah.
gave to the holier, they
Okay.
were saved from sickness. Now the Egyptians are giving to the holier, they could be saved from more affliction.
Amazing. V'nitzalten. Benno Yaakov. Okay, he was a Talmud of Shamshon Full Hirsch. He had a great teacher. Okay. Navi Haltman. Now I want to get to the point. I'm quoting my father, Zechel Tzal Gavracha, and he asked this question at the Seder. It says, "What should you do with your clothes, Gershom? What should you do with it?
Put it on the
Put them on your children. I know what you do with. I know you don't need clothes. Why did the Torah have to say, put the clothes on your sons and your daughters? The Torah has to tell me what to do with clothes. There are no extra words in the Torah. What do you tell me what to do with clothes for? I know you don't eat clothes. Obviously, you wear them.
You wear them.
Why is the Torah saying put them on your sons and your daughters? So my father said, the Mitzrim clothing, they were mini skirts. They were promiscuous. They're good for the children, not for you. Put them on your little baby. For them, it won't be a mini skirt. You hear what he said? But it'll be a full size. So Torah has to say they're only good for the kinderlach. They're not for you, Alfie. You see the mini skirts and the micro skirts. They're not for you.
They didn't change the clothes. They didn't change the clothes. They wore the same clothes.
Okay. Now you're taking it out. And that's they did. The Talmud says they desired the Mitzri clothes very much because it was the finest linen. Again, thanks to you, we went to that museum. The Egyptians were known for the finest, and the Jews lusted after that. So Hashem is saying, yes, but it's not for you. It's only for your kinderlach. It's not sneers for you. For the kinderlach, it's okay. For them, it's not a mini skirt. For them, it's a maxi skirt. Isn't that beautiful? I got it? There are no extra words, and thanks to my father, Baruch Hashem. You see, there are no extra words in the Holy Torah. V'samtem al b'neichem v'al b'noiseichem. Ooh, sounds like a bus call.
What's he proclaiming?
Ooh,
Pesach.
maybe the Messiah's here. What?
I think it was just the 3 bus. I think it was just the 3 bus.
I think Mashiach will take the number 1 bus here. What do you
I got it
think?
all set up. If the Mashiach comes, I'm going to get a text message.
There's a pasuk in Ovadia that the Mashiach's first stop is here. Do you know that?
Here, Hartzion.
Let's go to the video text. Let's go to the video text.
It's coming through,
No, that's it. Says Ovadia,
Yeah.
the great prophet Ovadia. Let's go to the video text here, via Haltman. Page 113. The bottom of 113.
Question.
Oh, wait, Alfie. I just wanted 113, Pasuk Aleph, Chazon Ovadia. See the bottom of 113? Alfie, way on the bottom. It says Haftaras Vayishlach. Chazon Ovadia. Here, look.
Last.
There it is. The vision of Ovadia, yes? The great prophet Ovadia, who happened to be a Ger Tzedek.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? He used to work in the Vatican. And he became the great prophet Ovadia. What does Ovadia mean? The servant of God. Evet, the servant of God. Chazon Ovadia. So now we know that Evet Ka. Evet Ka. Now, this is his prophecy, right? Turn the page, Alfie. Evet Ka. Now, what does he say? The very last word of his prophecy. We're now on page 114, Pasuk Chof Aleph. The very last verse. Chof Aleph. Va'alu Moshiim Bahar Tzion. Yes, you have it?
oh, and Savior shall
The
come.
saviors will come up to the Asper Yeshiva. And that's what it says, you know. Page 114. This is the very last line in the prophet of right. Va'alu Moshiim Bahar Tzion. Savior. The saviors will come up on Mount Zion, Lishpot et Har Esav, to judge the mountain of Esav. Who's Esav?
It's there.
The Vatican. V'hoitel Hashem hamlucha. And then the whole world will realize that kingship belongs not to the abomination, but to God. What a prophecy. That the Mashiach will first come to Har Tzion. That's what it says here. But the Chabad don't agree. They say he's going to come to 770 first. How could you fight the text, Alfie? It says he'll come to Har. We're going to be the first to see him.
He's going to go to
To
Uman.
Har Tzion.
Question.
It says Har Tzion.
He says Moshiim.
You're in the right place at the right
Yeah,
time.
but it's-
Wow, he comes, we're going to be the first to see it.
But it says Moshiim, it's plural.
Plural, he'll have help. He's not going to come alone. Saviors. He's not a one-man show. He's going to come with an army.
בית
this might be a
המקדש
surprise.
שבבבל.
Chabad, the signs in downtown Jerusalem that Mashiach will first come to 770.
Now, how
But
would
here
he
it says he'll come to Har Tzion.
That be his first appearance. Here.
That's what it says.
בית המקדש שבבבל.
When
I don't
he
know.
be unknown before he
I'll show
appears
you.
on Mount Zion.
I don't know. The
Will he
prophet
come-
says
I
that
don't know will he come
his
alone.
headquarters will be Har Tzion, okay? Lishpot at Hares, I'll have to give up my room gladly. V'hoisel Hashem hamlucha. We'll have to clean up the room a little bit. Clean it up, right?
And they moved it to Knesset from there to here.
V'hoisel Hashem hamlucha. And then kingship will be what? V'hoisel Hashem hamlucha. The whole world will recognize that God is a true king. God is a true king, right? That's what it says, okay?
Wasn't that
I think you had a question, Alfie. What? You forgot your question already?
Well, you answered. I wanted to know if this is going to be his first surprise show.
I don't know. It says,
We just had an
He's gonna
announcement.
come.
And then he's supposed to come to Mount Moriah.
Har Tzion. I don't know. It says Har
Yeah, and also
Tzion.
it says the Torah will go out from Zion. And surely he
Ki
must be the
Mitzion
teacher.
Teitzei Torah, right?
He must be the teacher, right? And
Ki
then
Mitzion Teitzei Torah.
Is Zion part of
What?
I cannot find it. Can I buy one from the yeshiva?
No, you can't buy it from the yeshiva. Ask him to order it for you. What's the problem?
Ask whom?
where does it say
Ask the guy to order. Write down. It's called
Is it,
Chumash Or Torah Hashalem Chorev. Write it down.
Yes.
And ask him to order it for you.
Maybe the whole
Ask whom?
You go to dinner before you go to the
The Bariah bookstore to order it for you. Order it.
Well, I think
Okay?
so. Because this is right next to the tomb of David. So this place must be
Ah, Tomb of David. Now, who is the Mashiach?
son of David.
We got to go to the text again. Let's go to the text, Alfie. So it says Har Tzion, right? Who will be the Messiah? Again, it's all in the prophets. You just got to know which prophet,
That's right.
right? You got to know which prophet. Let's look.
Prophet is very important.
The prophet.
Especially for America.
You got to know which prophet. This is the prophet Yecheskel.
Yes, good.
Yecheskel on page 148. This is a prophet Yecheskel, chapter 37. We're going to pick up at the middle of the prophecy on page 148.
Yeah, here we are.
Pasuk Chav Daled. You see that on top of the black line?
Yeah.
Va'avdi David.
Of
Yeah, yeah, Gershom. I mean that. This is God speaking to the mouth of Ezekiel, right? Va'avdi David. You have it, Alfie. Pasuk Chav Daled on top of 148.
On top.
No, it's not on top.
The top of the line, about the middle.
Says Va'avdi David Melech Aleihem. Va'avdi David, and my servant David shall be king over them. V'roya echad yelu kulam, and they'll have one shepherd, no more 10 tribes and 2. V'roya echad yelu kulam, there'll be one shepherd for all of them. Mishpata yelechu, v'chikosa yishmeru, v'osa oisam. You hear? So all the Jews will become from. They'll observe all of my judgments and my laws. Mishpat is laws between man, and chukim are laws between what? Man and God. Says we're all going to become from. Now look at Pasuk Chav. Hey, look at this prophecy, Gershom. Look at this. The Yoshua al Aretz, they won't live in Borough Park no more. The Yoshua al Aretz Ashnasati, they will dwell in the land Ashnatati la'avdi la'Yakov, that I have given my servant Yaakov. Who's Yaakov? Israel. Asher Yoshvu ba Avoteichem, the same land where the fathers dwelt there, no matter what Abu Mamzer says. The Yoshvu Aleon, they will live on that land. Hemo B'neihem, look at this prophecy. Hemo B'neihem, no? U'B'nei B'neihem Ad Olam.
Adolam.
No matter what the Balkari says. Hemo B'neihem U'B'nei B'neihem Ad Olam. The David Avdi, of Yaakov, you have it? The David Avdi, and my servant David, Nasi Lahem, will be prince over them, La'olam. Wow. Now what does that mean? David's been dead for 3,000 years. So how could a dead man be prince over them? Forever. What? Says the Radak on this pasuk. Either it means a descendant of David, or Tchiyat HaMesim,
The resurrection of the
the man buried across the street. The Radak brings 2 interpretations. We know they're both right. Either it's a descendant of David, the Davidic dynasty will come back forever. What a prophecy. Or it means David himself, says Radak, the great Bible commentator, David himself, Tchiyat HaMetim, will be the first to see it over here. Reserve your seat early.
It's exciting.
I'm so excited.
Where's Radak?
Tchiyas HaMesim, Radak lived in 1200s. Reb David Kimchi,
Where's he buried?
who lived in France in the 1200s. And he says,
He's right here.
right here.
So he just has to rise up.
Right, that's right.
Rise up and sit.
The David Avdi,
You're in the first one.
and my
You're in
servant
the-
David,
You're in the.
Nasi Lahem, will be prince over them, La'olam. It means what? La'olam, either what? The Davidic dynasty will be forever, or Tchiyas HaMesim, where the dead will be resurrected and death will be banished. Isaiah tells us in chapter 45, Ubila ha'moves lanetzach. God will swallow up death forever. Wow. So that's
this
how you
mountain,
say a house in
and that
a,
mountain is also
in
Zion.
an oval house. That's how you console an oval. Quoting Isaiah, where God tells him that there come a time, at the end of time, when God will swallow up death forever. So it's
But he
referring
also
to
says
that.
it's on Mount Zion.
The David Avdi Nasi Lahem La'olam. What a prophecy, right?
It's amazing.
Now, you're not finished yet. Look at Pasuk Chavav.
Yeah.
The Karati Lahem Brit Shalom. Oh, not a phony peace. Brit Shalom. And I will cut with them a treaty of peace. Brit Olam, everlasting treaty. Yehotam. V'nesati Rebesi Otam. V'nesati es Migdashi B'tocham Lalam. And I will place my Migdash.
Yeah, man.
Unlike the first 2 times. This time it'll be what? La'olam. La'olam. Wow. Forever. V'hoye mishkani aleihem, my mishkan will be on them. V'yishalahem le'lehim, I will be for them for what?
Elohim.
A God. V'heim yilam, and they will be my people. V'yadu hagoyim, then Catherine Ashton will know who's the goyim. Catherine
All
Ashton.
the nations.
Ben Kamun. V'yadu hagoyim, and then the EU will know. Look, ki ani Hashem mikadesh es Yisrael. V'yosi mikdashi b'tocham la'olam. When my Migdash will be amongst them forever. So happy together. B'yos Migdashi, when my Migdash will be b'tocham, La'olam. Unlike the first two times,
You need to put the letters
this
back in
time
the side.
we're back for good.